Hi, I'm Unknown, and this is my new Rimworld map, Cathedral. To get started, this map was first designed with the mod Map Designer, so this terrain isn't natural really to Rimworld, it's edited by mod. To start off, I'm kind of going to sketch out what area I want first. I want this map to be mostly mountains, so I'm filling in and making these large blobs that are kind of curving around to the left side. This is going to be granite. This map has three separate stones. We have granite, sandstone, and marble. I didn't choose those. Personally, I love granite and just granite. So after sketching them out, I then fill them in, and I also add some kind of roughness to them, making them a bit more unique and scattered stones. Just to give them this kind of better look. Preferably better than sometimes Rimworld's a little bit flat. Again, just making them rough, as well as kind of connecting some of the larger stones, and then just making them poke out, curve around, adding that uniqueness. I'm also going to make a little cove back here, sort of. Cove, valley, something, I don't know. And then just filling in more, and then I'm going to come up to this top left area where, I don't know, I didn't like the look of it and decided I wanted to change it. Later on, I'm going to make it a bit more unique. It won't be that major, but it'll be something. Then I'm switching down to the bottom right and I'm adding sandstone. So this part of the map is mostly sandstone, so we're going to fill it in. And also this is where the ancient danger is. I can't remember if there's other ancient dangers, but this is one of them. First, of course, sketching out the area and then filling in all these blobs. Also adding some roughness and some uniqueness. I also want to add a little bit more extra area to it, let it be a bit more open for when you eventually decide to open the ancient danger. Just to spoil it, it is mechanoids. It's always mechanoids, never insects. Most people ask how I actually do this. As I said, I'm using DevTools, specifically the command make rock, which I believe is added by Vanilla Expanded Framework. It's able to spawn just all rocks in kind of a square formation. You have to select both two corners. But I'm using an auto clicker to kind of draw it better, as well as using my drawing pad to just simply etch it down. Makes it a lot easier than doing it with a mouse. For a while I did draw with a mouse, but now I use a drawing pad and a pen. And then again, continuing just kind of making that terrain a little bit more rough, and then we're going to add the last little bit, which is marble. I do like how this terrain is kind of, these three are prevalent in their own areas. We have granite in the top, marble in the middle, sandstone in the bottom. I'm also making a kind of a little valley cove, forget what it's called, caldera, kinda? Not really. But this is where also where our colonists are crash landing, so it should add initial defense and kind of a nice area. Filling in those last little bits, adding some more sandstone to make it a bit more unique. That's where the sandstone was originally at, so it just makes sense. And then next is time to work on the ground layer. With Rimworld, your ground layer has three base types. You have the soil areas, as well as water, and just kind of that. But then when you go into the stone areas, you have gravel, and then you have rough stone. So to start out, I'm placing down that rough stone. Rough stone is unique to all the different types of stones, and I'm using it to also connect all of those blobs. Generally, I like to make the rough stone a bit bigger. I like that view, and it doesn't remove too much of the soil. Again, I'm just going around the edges, filling it all in with rough stone, making it a bit more unique as well, making it scattered, adding more to that terrain. I'm going to finish up here, just adding that around, also connecting and making little circles and blobs, and then I'm going to come back in with gravel. With the gravel, I do it very smoothly, usually just going over it once, but I also might like to even out squares, make them not as bad. I don't want it to be too rough, don't want it to be square, I want it to be smooth and kind of pretty looking. I'm going to go back all the way here, again just going over it simply with one brush layer. I'm going to reformat myself. I also like to do this one at a time, so of course I started with granite, and then next I think I'm going to do both sandstone and marble together, but that's because there's less. So we're going to go over here with the sandstone, filling it all in, making this more of like kind of a pathway over around the rocks and connecting all of it together. There's also some additional exits to the outer world down here. Added two different spawns, so you'll have raiders or traders coming through here as well. So if you want to kind of block where they want to go. We're going to get back up here. Some of this is natural stone up here, and then some of it is what I made. Of course, this is where the lake once was, so you can see it's a little bit different. We're also going to go fill in that marble area. There's not as much marble, so I decided to just knock it out. It kind of looks like a crab's kind of claws. That wasn't intentional. Of course, I accidentally made a shrimp map, and now we have a crab map. And then I'm going to come over with that gravel and just kind of smooth in that outer layer. It's going to make a better transition into the grass. Well, yeah, sort of. The soil layer spawns a lot more grass, and then gravel gets grass, and then you just transfer to stone. So I'm going to go in, fill all those extra layers out. Going in, going around. And then with that, we're just going to be finishing up down here. So after that, we're going to be removing... Actually, after that, we're going to be adding in all of the overhead mountain. Because this is a mountain, so you have to add overhead mountain to make it a proper mountain. That means no drop pods will be coming in, your undergrounders will be safe, and this should cause the drop podders to instead go for that little wooden shack you have outside where you keep all of your Molotovs and all of your chem fuel. It's strange that they always go there. To just fill in the time while I add all that overhead mountain, my little character PFP is named Unknwn. The pink hair and the blindfold are their only character traits. There's like 70 different versions of Unknwn. I don't want to talk about it really. I'm also adding little caves and such between these passes, so it's not all just exposed to light. You have some little hidden areas. After that, I'm going to spawn in one of the colonists so the map doesn't get mad at me, and then I'm going to refog the map. It's covered everything up, so next is I'm trying to kind of sketch out where I want the water to be. For this map, I want it to be some rivers coming from little hidden spots within the mountains. Generally, I'm actually using natural geysers to be the spawns. Generally, rivers have many sources, so the water adds up, making the river eventually bigger. I start with the initial sketch, and then from source to end, then I double back, making it larger at the end, smoothing it out, and adding some width. Historically, all civilization has been bound to water as a major source of life. If I could go back millions of years to when Tiktaalik first came upon land, I would. And I'd proceed to immediately tell it to go back into the water. I have to pay taxes, so I'm kind of upset. Rimworld pathfinding is a little bit weird, so I'm going to be adding these little kind of islands to the sort of it. The oxbows. This will make it a little bit more easier for your colonists and traders and raiders to pathfind to where you're at. I do recommend making a lot of bridges on this map because, well, Rimworld hates water for some reason. I actually use still water. This is about the time I realized that I was using still water. I meant to use flowing water, but still water kind of looks better since flowing water doesn't properly work when you place it down. And then I'm going to go with some rich soil and cover in these kind of curves, give it a little bit more life. And then we're also going to be coming back soon with some mud. There we go. And this mud will help just add more uniqueness, add color difference. You'll see less plants, more of this rain, and just it makes it a much more unique map. I'm also adding a little river up here coming in from the top and just going to the side. That's just for detail. And then next, it's time for the best part. We're going to be building the cathedral, the namesake of this map. I knew I wanted it at an angle, so I tested around with the ground. Of course, I'm using God mode to spawn all this in. Later on, I'll go back and unmark the home area and use a mod to unclaim it all. So your immediate wealth isn't in the 10,000s, because we all know how Cassandra gets. Kind of inspiring this off of some cathedrals I found online with sign outer spikes. I don't know what those are called. If someone could tell me, I would very much appreciate it. I wanted to be an architect at one point in my life. Yeah, we can all see where that happened. Where it went wrong. It takes a little bit to get the style down, but eventually it's kind of perfect, and I zero in on what I want. So next I'm going to be adding pillars, kind of inside, adding more detail. This will also help us build up that roof that it's going to be holding. After this, a little bit of wood pathways, kind of be the main walkway, and then I'm going to fill in that concrete with some natural stone. The stone's a bit more better, a bit more prettier. I'm also going to add some extra stone in it soon to make it a little bit more unique. But first off, we're going to add a podium, kind of just using fences to outline areas. And then we're just going to make that unique stone. Maybe it's used for a ritual, maybe it's mosaic, we don't know. Next, it's time to add stools for all the previous goers to the cathedral. And then adding a bunch of bookshelves and shelves for basically to hold some books in ancient literature that have now been forgotten. Plus, I'm going to add some random things just to fill in the space. Next, I'm going to add a little monument and the ruined cul-de-sac outside. I'm going to see where I want that. Concrete, and then I'm going to sketch out kind of where it leads to. There's a bridge that passes over the water, so I'm going to connect the concrete to that bridge. This is kind of a little pathway, making it a little bit unique. Later on, I'll come over with soil and kind of fill it in, make it a little bit more rundown. Then outside, I'm adding packed dirt to go to the outer world. And then also some fences to kind of make it a bit more unique. Next, there was two things I wanted to add to this kind of cathedral. I wanted a little graveyard, which we'll see on the bottom right, and then I also kind of wanted to add a crypt, or kind of a catacombs of sorts. And then we're also going to be putting some dirt inside the building, as well as adding some roof and some kind of rubble to make it a bit more unique. I'll also damage this to make it more ruined, make it more empty. Yep, see, we're taking damage, so that way it's not freshly built. Next up is time to work on the catacomb. I'm going to start by using Destroy to dig out an area of where I want it. My idea was that an ancient spring kind of ran through it and carved out this drain, adding a nice kind of wooden door to it. I like the new doors that were added in Anomaly, they look perfect. I also ended up finding this little open area, so we're going to come back and fill it in, and I decided to turn it into a hive. We're adding some bones, some mammoth tusks, because originally that's how I was going to fill in the area, but then I realized I could add people, wild men, and then I could just rot them away. And then that adds skeletons. Don't ask why the wild men are all born the same day. And then next, it's time to just fill in where the map ends. We're going to fill in the hive and finish it out. In post, I edited it a bit more, making the ruins a bit more better. But honestly, for right now, that's it. Thank you for watching. The map is, of course, free to download for everyone, so I hope you enjoy.